It's episode 10. This week, the Corbomite Maneuver. It was an unusual episode. Very unusual. Premise of it was there was this glow-in-the-dark Rubik's Cube that stopped the Enterprise when they were on a routine mapping assignment. That led to a much larger ship, which led to a much larger ship that kept blocking them. So Captain Kirk had to do his outsmart the computer thing, and he threatened them with Corbomite, some substance he made up that he said would destroy everything if they fired on his ship. He bluffed them. Totally bluffed them. They bought it. They sure did. And then they went over to the alien ship because they were putting out a distress signal, said they were in trouble. When he got there, he was a little baby. Little baby that could walk and talk. He was like the baby on Bugs Bunny that was really a midget bank robber. That's what they had as the alien that had all these ships blocking the Enterprise. And he just wanted to someone to come and drink juice with. Offered him juice, wanted to have juice with somebody. All the trouble, he just wanted people to come try his juice. He was the only person on board, had no crew. So Captain Kirk said, just take one of my crew. No problem, no paperwork or anything, just take him. Take him, because he's been nothing but trouble this whole episode, and we'll never reference him ever again in any episode, ever. Not even in the movies. And so the little alien baby guy says, okay. And the crew member says, okay, that's fine. He was fine with it. He volunteered. Now, it was unusual because the navigator, Mr. Bailey, he kept flipping out. He jumped up, started screaming at people. What's wrong with you? We're all going to die, and you're counting down how many seconds we have left, and we're not toy soldiers. And he's just throwing this massive fit, so they had to confine him to quarters. And then less than 5 minutes later, he comes back up to the bridge. And he just takes his post again. No explanation why. They just said, okay, take your post. Because you haven't flipped out in 5 minutes. Very bizarre. He hadn't even made it to his quarters, I would think. Just got off the turbo lift, turned right back around, went back up, and everything was fine. It was also unusual because Captain Kirk and Dr. McCoy kept fighting the whole episode. To start with, when they went to red alert and they were calling for the captain to come to the bridge, Kirk was in sickbay doing his quarterly physical. McCoy must have turned off the ship-wide intercom because Kirk never heard the red alert nor his page to the bridge. McCoy ignored it, and he's like, well, I wanted to finish the physical. Who cares if the ship gets blown to bits and the captain's not there? I want to fill out my paperwork and have a sorry and brandy, he said. Then later, McCoy got really up in Kirk's face over the whole navigator thing, and he's like, I told you were working him too hard, and he's burned out, and I'll challenge your ruling in my medical logs if you put anything bad in his record. And Kirk started yelling at McCoy, and then everyone stared at him, and he's like, oops, oops. Well, that was kind of bizarre. And then when they get to the alien ship and the baby's there, Kirk just offers up his officer. He had no idea what race that baby was from, had no idea where the ship was headed, none of that. The baby was just lonely, wanted someone to drink juice with him. So Kirk just said, take my guy. I'm done with him. And the guy was completely fine. It was not like he asked a series of questions to see if it was something he wanted to do. Like, hey, are you coming back my way anytime soon? Or will I have access to communications to contact my people? Or what type of clothes should I bring for your planet? Nothing like that. Just, okay, I'll join this alien ship with one other person on board and juice. He may not have even liked the juice. It was very, very bizarre. Some interesting notes. Scotty was back this episode. He had a little bit to do, not a ton, but a little bit. Mr. Sulu was there and he was giving countdowns like no one's business. Every few minutes he was doing a countdown and people would yell at him. First the navigator, throwing the fit, yelled at him for counting down. Then Mr. Scott yelled at him for doing his countdown. That was what he was there for. He was supposed to be doing countdowns. Also interesting that it was the first time we saw someone confined to quarters, even though it didn't hold. Didn't hold, but he got confined to quarters, did the navigator. He was flipping out. Then he was perfectly fine just leaving the ship altogether and joining this alien ship. Also, Uhura, not in her traditional red uniform, she was in a gold one. A command uniform. I don't know if at that point in time the writers just said a collar is a collar, they don't signify anything, and made that distinction later, but she was in a command uniform and not the traditional red one. A little bit different for Uhura, who also had a fair amount in this episode to do. She kept trying to contact that alien ship. It didn't want to respond for a long time, but it did eventually. So pretty much that's the episode. Next week, the first part of the Menagerie. I might just do the Menagerie as 2 parts in one episode and get it both up and reviewed, since it's one long episode they broke up. Or I might not, we'll see. Maybe I'll leave it to you, the loyal viewers. The loyal viewers might be able to decide that. But either way, we'll start the Menagerie, probably finish it next week.